Hi, this is Charles Thirshade Gaming, and I'm bringing another Ninth Age Battle Report. This is the second game I got in last Saturday, and it was a real doozy. Got to play some Highborn Elves with my Spicy Griffin list. Hope everybody liked that fun clickbait last week. Just a little ironic joke. Yeah, so let's just get right into it. And this is the start of Empire deployment. So I have my Griffin Marshal with the 2-up-4-up regen on my left flank. Next to him is a steam tank, and then my cannons on the other side of the steam tank. I have my 20 light infantry with handguns back. I have my 20 light infantry with crossbows also back. And then you can just see the two units of heavy infantry. They almost look like they're one big unit, but they're just really close. They're both going to try and march and push into the deployment to contest the objective until something else can get there, like the Knights of Sun Griffin or maybe even the light infantry. Who knows? Whatever it takes to be able to, get the objective. And then you can see my general is behind the heavy infantry, and in front of him are the flagellants with my prelate. And then I've got, I made a slight modification to my list from the last battle report. I decided I wanted to, I wanted to put the Great Tactician on my general, so I ended up dropping, I think, like a flagellant or two, and I put like another crossbow. So I have 11 light infantry, and they're just going to go in that building. And then I've got my other Griffin Marshal next to the building, and then my Knights of Sun Griffin next to them. So this is the start of the Highborn Elf deployment. He's got 20 spearmen, 20 citizen spears, or 26 it looks like, citizen spears with the Rainbow Banner. Behind them are some Elaine Reavers, or sorry, I don't even know what they're called now. Maybe just Reavers, I guess. And then a Line Chariot, and then big block of Line Guard with his Order the Fiery Heart Mage and his High Prince with the Spear of the Blazing Dawn, and he's got flaming attacks. I think he's like a Flame Warden character, because he has a 4 Aegis and flaming attacks. Because my opponent was like, seriously, does 2 of your Griffin Marshals have like Aegis, which is actually really interesting. Apparently the Winter Cloak might still have a 2-up flaming Aegis. I don't know if that's a typo or if that's intended. That's kind of interesting though. Next to them is a Line Chariot, and then on the hill are 2 Reaver Chariots, and behind them are big block of Sword Masters. And then just to the right of them is another thing of Citizen Spears and another Reaver Chariot. 5 chariots in the army. Chariots are great, aren't they? So this is what the wide shot of the whole battle looks like. So after we remove the screens, he's got a pretty committed center with the white lines. I have, some flagellants in there, but I really gotta hope my light infantry can, really bring down some elves. Honestly, there's a lot of elf bodies on that battlefield. I mean, 2 big blocks of special troops, 2 things of like core Rima dudes. Those Rima dudes are so nasty now. I'm glad they don't have the Swiss Stride anymore. I think the +1 movement's appropriate though. It kind of gives them an edge. Actually, he has a pretty much advanced 6 to charge everywhere except his white lines, because I know those sword masters have the banner speed as well. So this is a fast elf army too. Most elf armies are pretty fast, but this one's, for infantry, it's even faster. It's fast as ogres basically. And he ended up winning I picked table sides. So he got +1, and he got to go first. And he just pushes up, which was actually, I was probably going to have to let him take first turn, because my shooting was, my shooting was at the end of the table. I actually need him to move forward in order for me to be able to get some shots off. Pretty much that's it. His only turn. Actually, he does a big part class. He does part classic flow. Oh man, he does this spell a lot this game, and I'm just gonna say he rolled really well to wound everything. He kills like 3 flagellants. He kills like 4 heavy infantry. He kills like some light infantry with crossbows. He kills some like guys with handguns. He was just pulling units off everywhere, and I was like, ugh, pyromancy's still pretty good, isn't it? So, Empire Sunstall turn 1, I put Ready Aim Fire on both my light infantry. One's coming from my Griffin General, one's coming from, or my Marshal General on his Griffin, and the one's coming from the guy with the 2-up, 4-up regen. And then I'm also able to put on the double on my heavy infantry for my Marshal General. And then this one's coming from the Griffin on the other side of the building. So I actually attempted to... He moved his Spearman up pretty far, I would say, and I think he was like an 18 inches away, and I believe this was my mistake. I later was looking this up. I believe we thought it was a terror check, but I realize now that Griffins don't have terror, which is a good thing to learn before going to a tournament. But I thought they did, and I think I was making a mistake with the old rules, and now I know that they don't have terror. They just have fear. Because they're not gigantic. They have towering presence, but they're not gigantic. Gigantic models all have terror. Griffins are large, towering presence, flying monsters, or whatever. So unfortunately, this was a fault that he failed a terror check, and just it pushed his spearman back, and that was about it. I don't really think it set him back that far. This is kind of how the rest of my movement looks like. I probably moved the Griffin on the right, far right, too close to that chariot. Move my general up. I'm not really sure if I'd want to charge anywhere, but I kind of want to give myself some options. I'm chaffing the Lion Guard with one of my heavy infantries, and then, but he's got all these chariots that are going to dart around, and you're going to see that in just a second. And then both my light infantry can shoot the Reaver chariots. So my goal was going to try and get rid of the Reaver chariots. I've got one of the Griffins in the flank. I was kind of hoping to maybe use him to get rid of some other Reaver chariots, or maybe even tie up one of those big blocks. Like, he could probably grind on some sword masters for a couple turns. With a 4 up against all their attacks, only winning on 4s. They're gonna hit me well, obviously, but yeah, we could probably kill some sword masters. They'll probably grind him out though. I'm able to get the Stars Align off on my light infantry. Able to get Altered Sight off on my handguns, so we're going to have a good shooting phase. And yeah, both the handguns targeted a Reaver Chariot, killed it, and the crossbows targeted another Reaver Chariot and killed it as well. So it's nice when they only have 3 wounds. The cannon, I want to say it tried to shoot at... Oh, there's actually a Reaver Chariot behind my Griffin, the unpainted Griffin at the top of this picture. And I had to move, I wanted to move my Marshal up as far as possible. Right now, he's got a rear charge of me. And I actually shot both my cannons at this chariot. My artillery cannon failed and can't shoot the rest of the game. And then my cannon on my steam tank missed as well. So 2 misses. I think I was both hitting on 4s with them. So, that's pretty much average just to miss with your cannons turn 1, both of them. Yep, so Highborn Elves turn 1. This Reaver Chariot's going to charge this Griffin. It's just showing the failure of my cannon. And then he charged with one of his Lion Chariot to the left of his Lion Guard, charges this unit of heavy infantry. And I kind of was thinking that that's just not going to be good for this unit. I think they would hold, but I think that they would get ground out, and I'm thinking I'm going to need them later, so I decided to flee with them. Because it was already, like, decently far away. I decided to just flee with them, and they fled even farther, and they're just, near my board edge. But there's nothing wrong with, now they're safe right here. This chariot on the, to the right of the Lion Guard charges the Flagellants, and then he brings all 3 of these blocks into the heavy infantry, which I thought was actually really good. I think I wasn't thinking about his Swordmasters charging, but I really gave him the option when I killed both his Reaver Chariots. I guess it almost would have been better to maybe kill one, block one. I guess he could have thrown away the Reaver Chariot, maybe into, like, the steam tank. It might have been able to make that charge, or it might have been able... it probably wouldn't have been able to get out of the way if it failed, but... Yeah, I feel like I kind of gave him that option, and I probably could have shot the crossbows, or maybe the crossbows could have shot the Swordmasters, But I feel like this was a bad setup because now I feel like I brought the Sword Masters really far forward, and like there's this line chariot still safe, and the Sword Masters, and I'm about to lose the scoring unit. So unfortunately, this is a bad play on my part. And this is sort of trying to get a good view of what the battlefield looks like. He did make it in with his Beaver Chariot. He couldn't fail against my Griffin. After combat, thankfully the Line Guard do not overrun into the Flagellants. And that was very lucky for me, because otherwise he probably could have killed almost all of them just this one turn. And I would have barely killed any, because I would have had hatred, but I would have been, hitting on 5s, re-rolling, because he's got distracting, and you just don't really do that much damage. I mean, I would still have all my attacks, obviously, but yeah, I would just, they just wouldn't have that much potential, I think. And then this is how his Swordmasters reform, and then his Line Chariots behind them. Cool enough, my Flagellants, this is Empire Sunsol, turn 2. The Flagellants killed a Line Chariot, but it killed 10 of them, which really stinks. It rolled a lot of impact hits, all its attacks rolled and hit really well. He wiped out a bunch of them. Nice thing though is I was able to put them in the flank, so there is a silver lining. I get the Flux card 1 this turn. I'm able to put Altered Sight on my Light Overture with handguns. And that's about it. That's the only spell. And this is what the battlefield looks like. Move my Griffins up. And this is, I want to say this is another instance where the Sword Masters, you can see, are displaced. This is like another instance, I want to say, where I charged them with something, and I think I tarred them. And I shouldn't have tarred them. I want to say I might have been trying to charge them in the flank with my Griffin that's unpainted at the top, and he fled, and then I tried to redirect, and I tried to charge his chariot, but I failed, and that's why he's right in front of the spearmen, who have a nice juicy flank charge against him. He's just giving up rears and flanks everywhere, which is sort of bad moves on my part. It's not sort of, it is bad moves on my part. Yeah. So I move my cannon that can't shoot, starts moving towards the corner just to stay safe the rest of the game, and then my steam tank starts moving towards the middle because it's gonna have to do something to help out these guys. So yeah, combat. I killed some white lions. Unfortunately, in this configuration, I realized this is an important thing too. With the way kind of reforms and combat reforms and combat pivots work, I was thinking about reforming. Reforming would have been awesome, because right now my unit's actually 9 wide, and I was like, I could have brought one more in, got 2 or 3 more attacks, but then I realized my opponent's telling me you actually can't charge if you combat reform. That's really interesting. You keep your scoring, which I remember that was something they changed, where it's if you made a combat reform, you're not scoring anymore, but they changed scoring, so now you're still scoring, but you can't charge. So interesting enough, it's a good move. Probably makes it a little bit more difficult to always have those perfect counter charges. I think this was a good situation, but I just don't have that many attacks, so I really didn't kill that many. I think I killed 6, which is good, but when there's such a big block, it's only a drop in the bucket at this point. So, start Highborn Elf turn 3. He charges my Griffin in flank. We'll see how that goes. And then this was a really good play here. So he passed his stubborn test. I forgot to say that at the end of the combat. And he was able to turn around as well. And maximize, because I'm only 8 wide right now, so I couldn't really change anything. And then he was also able to put his chariot, because his chariot could see, so his chariot was also able to charge. So now he's got this line chariot in there too. So these guys are toast. This is what the rest of the board looks like. You can see there's a bunch of models that keep kind of dropping off units. Those are all just not perclastic flows. Scorching salvos. Even with the D3+1, he's rolling to wound so well with everything. He just keeps pulling pulling like wounds off here and there and everything. Except the Griffins. The Griffins are all fine because they all have like flaming Aegis saves. Except the one that has regen, but he's farther away. Yeah, so this was rough. After combat, yeah, he kills the rest of the flagellants, and he tried to kill my prelate actually, but his dude with the spear attacked my prelate and whiffed. So my prelate stayed alive, which ended up being a huge detriment because now he could pursue the prelate, which is something I'm kind of realizing about the like putting the prelate in flagellants. It's great until there's no more flagellants left, and then he's kind of a liability because all of a sudden now he's like, oh, he might flee if he doesn't get killed. So it's something that I probably going to revise in my list because it's actually not a very good place for him to be. It's good. I mean, it's good. Maybe if I had more bodies, but even had more bodies, it's easy to lose him shooting, and then it's easy to lose him in combat, and him to be the only thing left, and then to flee. Because if he died, the white lines wouldn't have gone anywhere. Instead, in this case, they overrun into my Griffin character, and then they're right in front of my Knights of the Sun Griffin, and then like everything that was going okay on this flank is now totally in jeopardy. So. Yeah, this got really unfortunate really fast. And then over here, my Griffin went to town. He really pounded on these guys, and they didn't even do a wound to him because even charging in, they're only strength 4, so I still get like a 4 up. So, and they're only wounding on 5s. So he hit really well. He didn't wound very well, and I made all my saves. And I want to say I hit with all my Griffin attacks, wounded with them all, wounded with my stomp, and I wanted to say I did 1 wound with the martial on top. But I still lost combat by 1 because he had three ranks, a flank, a rank and a flank, and a charge and a banner. So yeah, he was up just by 1, and I failed my Discipline 8 test, and I fled. And I fled and got away, thankfully, but I fled into the rune, and this is where I actually took another wound. So, funny enough, yeah, like my Griffin went ham. I just failed my discipline test. Sort of Empire Sunstall turn 3. I throw my. I'm able to put my steam tank into these guys, which is good. I take a couple DTs going in, but it's kind of worth it just to tie up this unit and grind them down. And then, yeah, this is kind of skipping ahead. I missed a couple pictures. I ended up... I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my Knights of Sun Griffin at this point. I felt like they were just, like, in the worst place possible. So I ended up just throwing them into the White Lions because I thought, like, hey, I get to go in at Agility 5, so I get to... I get to strike Simo, basically, is what I was thinking. So at least I get to put my attacks out there and, you know, maybe do some damage. I know he had distracting because of the Navigator banner, but I was just thinking I was just going to push through it. I kill, again, I mean, you can see them right now. I barely killed any. And then I fought in a challenge with my Griffin character, and it was basically a pillow fight. And then he wiped out he killed all 4 Knights of Sun Griffin so easily. I mean, because those guys do multiple wounds too, which I might have been forgetting that at the time when I was charging, but then I quickly got reminded of it by my opponent, and I quickly thought, like, this is going to be a disaster, and it was. Yeah, so the Knights of the Sun Griffin evaporated, and my Marshal is fleeing, and it's still my turn, so that's obviously bad. So at the start of Highborn Elves turn 4, he charges my Griffin, who flees a little bit more, and my Prelate's actually still fleeing too. He's got 1 wound from that combat that he was in. He's actually still fleeing. He didn't rally last turn, which stinks. It's like he rallied on my turn 3. He could have been in a better spot, but he didn't. So he's fleeing, and he flees right there. And yeah, the Lion Guard caught my other Griffin Marshal and slaughtered him, sadly. And then he moves up on the objective. yeah, with his sword masters and with his other unit Rhyme of Spears. He's still got that one chariot left, and then he's still got those reavers left. Amazingly, those guys I think might have also fled as part of that first spearman fleeing. Yeah, he throws a big pyroclastic flow at my prelate and just smokes him. He only did 4 wounds or something like that. I just rolled 2 1s, and my prelate dies. So sad. And yeah, so this is Empire Sunsalt turn 4, which is the last turn. We were doing tournament time, and we just I don't know who was slow playing who. It was probably me. I'm still trying to figure out how to move all my griffins every turn. Put them in the right spot. Make sure my shooting is still like lined up well. And so basically, I just move my heavy infantry to contest the objective. Possibly contest the objective, because right now he's gotten 1 marker, or actually he's gotten 0 markers and I've gotten 0 markers, so he could possibly have a chance to score. And I do all my shooting at the swordmasters, and I get them down. I kill 5, cause a panic test with the pass. And that's pretty much the end of the game. The only thing that really happens is this combat here. Yeah, so this combat is actually a lot less spearmen than that. I want to say at the start of my turn 4, there was only like 6 left or something like that. And I had a really low grind that turn. Like I think at 3, and I rolled 3 grinds and I do 3 wounds. And he's got like 4 spearmen left, and they actually passed their break test, because it's like it was only like a -2 to their discipline, so they're able to pass. They don't flee, because it would have been nice if they fled, because they got to cut full points. I didn't charge with my Griffin character, because I'm thinking like he could go in and he could help me wipe out the rest of them, but then I'll have to take in a bunch of dangerous terrains and I might die. So how about we just keep him alive? Because even if he takes 1 more wound, then he gives up half points. So. This is the last picture of the battle board I have. Yeah, it was a pretty good Highborn Elf win. Yeah, I think as everyone could probably tell. So, pretty big Emperor Sonsal defeat. I only get 4 points out of this game. It was a 13-7 for the objective. And it was really just he just got 1 marker right at the end of turn 4, because he had 2 scoring units next to it, the Sword Masters and the Citizen Spears. It would have been an interesting game to play out the rest, because we were. I mean, 13-7 is not that close in points. He had like 1,000 points on me, so obviously we weren't that close. I'm not really sure what else I really could have done at that point. Really, I mean, I had my light infantry mostly intact, and the nice thing was that his line guard were far away. I want to say they weren't out of the battle by any means, but they're definitely going to. They're almost out of the game. Pretty much going to turn around turn 5, and then what? I mean, they could maybe go in the building, or I might even be able to chaff them coming out of the building or something like that. So yeah, their options are limited. And then it really comes down to that line chariot, the unit of spears in the middle, and the swordmasters. And the swordmasters were pretty depleted. They only had 10 models. I think I might have been able to do some serious damage to those spears and the swordmasters and that chariot. However, I think my opponent would still get the objective, because I don't really see myself. I honestly, it looks like I might be able to chaff up the spears for a turn with my unit of heavy infantry. But that's about it. Yeah, so I still think the Highborn Elves would have had it. It just really good plays turn 1 with his kind of early turn charges, and it just wasn't ready for those. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this battle fourth, and I'll have another one up shortly. And look forward to a Buckeye Battles list review coming out very soon. Thanks.